Optical illusion number 1. I actually have long flowing dreadlocks. I wish. So optical illusions have fascinated humanity since, well, forever. And they've gotten more intense over the years as certain people have figured out ways to trick our eyes that trick our brains into thinking something's there that isn't. So I've gathered some of the most intense optical illusions that have ever existed, some of which, or all of which, are going to simply melt your mind. Oh, and I'm also going to explain who created them and how they work. So without further ado, here are 10 optical illusions that will melt your mind. Number 1 is the Hermann Grid. The Hermann Grid is a famous optical illusion in which white lines cross over a black square to form a grid. It's named after Ludimar Hermann, a German psychologist and speech scientist who originally discovered it in 1870. What's interesting about this illusion is that, unlike many others, the effect happens almost instantaneously, as at every point where the white lines intersect, a tiny gray shadow appears, or at least to your eyes. However, the moment that you look directly at the point where those lines cross, the shadow disappears. Those intersections are like tiny little ghosts, and then the second you look at them, they're gone. I'm scared. Number 2 is the Quinita Triangle. While this one looks like a crazy multiplayer game of Pac-Man, it's much more. The Quinita Triangle is an optical illusion in which no triangle actually exists in what you're looking at, but yet you can see one. Named after Gaetano Quinita, an Italian psychologist and artist who served as the founder of the Institute of Psychology at Trieste, he was one of the first to report on the effect in 1976. When you look at the picture, your brain creates contours, which basically outlines, in this case, the shape of a triangle, but it can be used in other shapes as well. See, where your mind expects to see completed circles, you see a piece missing, and altogether, the missing pieces tell your brain an invisible triangle must be there. But the truth is, it's not. It's like witchcraft. Number 3 is the Ponzo Illusion. A lot of these are created by Italians. Italians are tricksy. First discovered by Italian psychologist Mario Ponzo in 1911, the Ponzo illusion has had countless variations ranging from chairs to blocks to simply squiggly lines, but the trick behind it is always the same. What is the trick? Well, it might surprise you, but the two objects that you're looking at are actually the exact same size. And the objects always differ. Sometimes it's monsters, sometimes it's trucks, and sometimes it's simply lines. The reason that one looks larger than the other is because of the image behind them. See, your brain is always compensating for distance, expecting whatever's further down the line to be smaller than if you were close. See, once again, it's your brain playing tricks on you. By the end of this video, you're not gonna believe anything. I'm not even here. That was a putty from Power Rangers. I don't know what that was. On to the next one. Number 4 is the Frasier Spiral. Also known as the false spiral and twisted cord illusion, the Frasier Spiral is another optical illusion named after the person that discovered it. In this case, it was British psychologist James Frasier who found it in 1908. When you look at it, it may seem like there are spiraling lines rolling down into infinity. However, the pattern you're actually seeing is a series of concentric circles. What? Okay, let me explain. The reason that your mind is telling you it's a spiral is because of the misaligned triangles and checkered style, which causes your eyes to see false twists and deviations. Like this. Okay, no, that was actually just me moving my body. Just keeping you on your toes. Number 5 is the Munker white illusion. What if I told you that in the image that you're looking at right now, the two colors are actually the exact same color? Yeah, they are. There are literally thousands of variations of the Munker white illusion, some being boxes while others are circles or even corkscrews. Regardless, the effect that you're looking at is the same. It's tricking your eyes into seeing a distinct difference between the two colors, or as Mr. M. White first witnessed it, two different shades of gray which are exactly the same. The reason this illusion is possible is because our brains judge colors by comparing them to the surrounding colors. If you can't quite see it or simply don't believe me, take a screenshot of that image, throw it into Photoshop, and test the two different colors. You'll find that they aren't different. They're exactly the same. Number 6 is the Zollner Illusion. This illusion is an old one, first discovered in 1860 by a German astrophysicist named Johann Carl Friedrich Zollner in a letter that he wrote to physicist and scholar Johann Christian Poggendorf. It consists of several long lines, each crossed over by tiny lines. Now, while the image seems to show the longer lines running at different angles, it's going to amaze you to know that every line that you're looking at is perfectly parallel to the others. There are two easy ways to prove this. The first is by using a ruler to measure the distance between the bottoms of the two lines and the tops. The other is by matching each line to one line that is 2 lines away and thus has the same angled small lines crossing it. This is another example of how lines can seem distorted by their backgrounds. For example, it may seem like I have a crazy face right now, but it's actually just because there's a sloth behind me. See that? Okay, I actually did that. I just wanted to fit a sloth into my video at some point. Mission accomplished. Number 7 is the Troc effect. This is another optical illusion that takes a few moments to really appreciate. Take a moment to stare at the center of this blurry image for about 30 seconds. See what happens. What should happen is that it should begin to fade until it's almost invisible to your eye. This occurs because of the Troc effect, which basically tells us that if we fixate our gaze on a particular point for even a short amount of time, unchanging stimulus around the area will gradually fade away and disappear. The effect was first discovered all the way back in 1804 by a Swiss physician called Ignaz Paul Vital Troxler. That's a mouthful. Since then, there have been a number of other optical illusions that have used this effect. Does this effect work on people? Because I would love to stare at Donald Trump for a while and just see what happens. Number 8 is the hybrid image. This illusion is actually quite new compared to the other illusions on this list, having only been proposed in 1994 and then recently perfected by Aude Olivia of MIT and Philippe G. Shims of University of Glasgow. The most likely famous example that you're going to find online is this one, the Albert Einstein and Marilyn Monroe illusion. Look closely at the image. You'll see the finer details of Einstein on a blurry background, but backing away or shrinking the image will reveal an underlying image of Marilyn Monroe. Now, this one's really trippy, but the reason that it occurs is because of the way that your brain processes visual input and the hybrid image's combination of the lower number of pixels in Monroe's picture and the larger number of dense pixels in Mr. Einstein's. Try it right now for yourself. Look at the image closely and then back all the way up from it. You'll see what I'm talking about. Number 9 is illusory motion. Whoa man, psychedelic. The person who originally discovered this illusion is actually a highly debated topic in the scientific community. However, the motion illusion was proven by Roger B.H. Total and his team by showing images to patients while they underwent an MRI. Look at the image. It seems to move when you look away from it because of the cognitive effects of interlacing color contrasts and shape positions within it. In fact, this is actually a trick that many advertisements have used on billboards and signs to catch your attention. Nothing that you're looking at is actually moving, but it's essentially that your brain just can't handle it, so it appears to be moving because it's just trying to make sense of it. See? I'm not even moving. But your brain's just trying to figure out why there's this eraser-shaped headed man just staring at me. And number 10 is the Thatcher Effect. Oh look, a completely normal picture that's upside down. Okay, let's just spin that right side up and away. What? Originally discovered in 1980 by psychology professor Peter Thomson, the Thatcher Effect is actually named after the former Prime Minister of Britain, Margaret Thatcher. It was named after her because it was her image that Thomson used to initially demonstrate this illusion. See, our brains have trouble discerning the differences in the obviously introverted features when the picture is upside down. This is because the part of the brain devoted to face perception is rarely used to discern features in that position. Essentially, we see the features but cannot properly perceive how ridiculous they look until we see them on a face oriented the way that we're used to seeing it. For example, I'm smiling right now. Can you tell? And now your brain should be sufficiently melted. However, if you still have your wits about you, be sure to click that red subscribe button to subscribe to my channel so that you can catch my next video. And don't forget to add me to the Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagrams because I like to interact with you guys off of YouTube just as much as on YouTube. So, have a great day guys, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.